judicial farce. I mean, on innumerable points, beginning the fact that he never committed a crime. What he did, he was a publisher. He didn't actually, like Daniel Ellsberg, he didn't actually steal the documents or to publish them. He was provided this material, like any publisher. And a lot of this stuff, of course, especially back in 2010, this was all picked up by major newspapers and news organizations: El País, The Guardian, Der Spiegel, the New York Times, but he, he's the most important publisher of our generation, hands down. He's done more to expose the inner workings of power than any other journalist or publisher alive, and they're going to make him pay for it. But the way they have had to deform basic law is quite staggering. For instance, UC Global, the Spanish security firm, was filming all of his meetings with his attorneys and providing them to the United States, which on top of it was considering assassinating him and kidnapping him. That alone invalidates the trial because it eviscerates attorney-client privilege. It's really quite staggering how the UK has essentially decided to engage in this judicial pantomime. Those of us who have followed the case since it began understand that he's being railroaded. We don't have much hope. We're going to fight it. But now he gets to appeal on other points and goes back. It's a kind of strange and convoluted. It goes back. These were not trials, by the way. They were all hearings. It goes back to the lower court. So that's probably another year of legal wrangling. But it seems pretty clear that the UK is working in collaboration with the Biden administration to extradite him. And then, of course, the end result, when he's found guilty, is that even to possess classified material will become a criminalized offense. Let's remember, he's not a U.S. citizen. WikiLeaks is not a U.S.-based publication. And yet he's being charged under the American Espionage Act. That itself is a tautology. It doesn't make any sense. But what it does is shut down any kind of serious investigation into the mechanisms of power. And I just want to say, as a reporter for the New York Times, I possessed and published classified material. And so it's quite ominous in terms of our ability to hold power accountable.
This case could really potentially criminalize standard and normal journalistic activity. And we at Activism Munich have also covered this case extensively, and there has been a number of legal irregularities with this case. Now, if Assange is extradited to the United States, we know that he is likely to be tried in the Eastern District Court of Virginia. This is a very secretive court, perhaps a very corrupt court as well. So can you speak a little bit more about what he would potentially face in the United States as far as the prison conditions as well as what his court case would be like?
Well, this is another legal anomaly because he was, Judge Vanessa Baretzer decided to halt the extradition process because, first, Julian is in very poor physical and psychological health. He suffered a small stroke. He has been hallucinating. They found a razor in his cell under his socks, banging his head against the wall. It's quite distressing, the kinds of things, as anybody, would break down after 10 years of this kind of persecution, 7, of course, in the Ecuadorian embassy, and then now in this high security prison where he's held in isolation. So then what happened was the U.S. provided quote unquote assurances, they have no legal validity, in a diplomatic note, and that saw the High Court agree to the extradition. But in that note, they said that those assurances would be given so long as Julian didn't violate any rules. I'm paraphrasing, I remember the exact language, which is ridiculous because the moment he steps foot in the cell, I teach in a prison. It's a totalitarian system. They are able to do whatever they want. They said in the note they wouldn't hold him in Florence, Colorado, in the Supermax prison there pre-trial. Well, this is another feint because nobody is held pre-trial in Florence, ADX. It's just, it's the absurdity of it. there's no question what they'll do to him. They said they wouldn't use SAMs. These are special administrative measures, but just complete isolation. You can't even communicate often with your lawyers, certainly with anyone else, which breaks you down. That's what they did to Fahad Hashmi, who was a graduate student in London. They brought him back, and by the time after 23 months of this treatment, they brought him into the courtroom as a case I covered, and he was just a zombie. He didn't even know where he was. So that's the goal. That's what they will do. As you're correct in pointing out that there was a reason they sent him there with Gordon Kromberg and these figures who are rabid Islamophobes and far-right figures who have persecuted, especially Muslims. Sami al-Arian, the Palestinian academic. Right after 9/11, they went after all of the major Palestinian figures in the United States, the Holy Land Society, everyone else, and wiped them out at Israel's behest, of course. So the court has just a horrid reputation. That's when they hauled in Chelsea Manning, because what they really want is to get Manning to collaborate with them and say that there was collusion between Manning and Julian to extract the material that was leaked to him, and that it then becomes a criminal offense they can use against Julian. Manning, to her credit, has refused to do that, but Kromberg, they threw her in jail. There was another suicide attempt. I mean, these people are ruthless. I mean, remember, these are the people who run black sites around the world and Guantanamo, and they're the same people.